Welcome to Gridiron SN Podcast. I'm Anthony Silva.
I'm Patrick Vogel.
This will be our second episode. We will be previewing the Week 1 football games and looking back at the Thursday night football game.
The NFL kickoff game between the Chiefs and the Lions.
So, what did you think of Thursday night's kickoff game?
I thought both teams came out and you could see the rust on both teams. Mahomes didn't look good. Jared Goff wasn't the peak Goff we saw last season. So the defenses, it made the defenses look really good.
Yeah, defenses looked really good, but Mahomes also had problems with his wide receivers catching passes.
Yeah, there wasn't much of a opportunity to drive down the field for the Chiefs for most of the game because the wide receivers just didn't catch the ball. There was no focus when they would get the opportunity to be open, and I don't like that.
Yeah, this is a stat that I found. It was in the second half, Mahomes was 2 for 12 with four dropped passes when he was targeting his wide receivers.
That's not good. And I mean, there really wasn't that reliable guy on the field for them. It wasn't like he could go and have.
He didn't have his guy. He didn't have a guy that he trusted, especially with Kelsey not being there. There was no one out there that he completely trusted.
Well, even with Kelsey not being the first read, like he's still the reliable, just second option, and he is the reliable guy that Mahomes can always turn to in a quick moment if he's under duress. So not having that really impacted the game mightily.
Do you think not having a reliable receiver will affect how the Chiefs play the rest of the season? But they will have Kelsey in the coming weeks, but he will make a huge difference. But when it comes to wide receivers, who do you think he's going to have to really rely upon?
Well, I think
because in the first week, I didn't see anyone out there.
Yeah, but we went over this last year. Everybody thought that because Tyreek Hill left, there wasn't going to be that reliable guy, and there were guys that stepped up. Obviously, Juju made a big impact, and they still, obviously don't have Juju anymore, but Marquez Valdes-Scantling's still there. He can make an impact. He just has to wake up, and then, there's other guys that need to step up big.
Rashee Rice looked like he made a name for himself in the first game.
Yeah.
He looked reliable compared to some other receivers on the team.
Yeah, I mean, the first target at him he dropped, but the second target he caught for the touchdown. So
and then the rest of his targets, I believe he mostly caught them if they were catchable balls or if he wasn't completely draped over.
Yeah, and the drop doesn't look good, but it does in the long run because his first reception in the NFL was technically a touchdown. So it balanced out there.
That first throw to him, I think the ball got punched out, so it wasn't really a drop. It was more like a PBU.
I'm trying to remember. I think it was.
What?
Punched out. But
yeah.
But I don't. I think it was right in his hand, so he should have caught that anyway.
True. Let's talk about some Lions player. Marvin Jones, first career fumble, finally.
It's only taken him,
12 years and 542 catches, and it was over 600 career touches.
So, 11 full years? 11 full seasons for him to go and fumble?
That's something like that. That's pretty impressive. He had it coming, though.
So the first game of his 12th season, that is a pretty impressive streak. I mean, he's a reliable guy. I mean, that wasn't the Marvin Jones we were used to seeing. The one that appeared last night was not the reliable wide receiver he's been his whole career. He definitely looked like the guy who's still trying to learn back this Lions system because, I think they went out and they got their veteran receiver back, but he had a year in another system. He had 2 years in another system. So obviously you're going to have some.
The offense has changed since he left,
Yeah, there's going to be some growing pains regardless. So
especially with a new QB. Because when he left, Stafford was still the QB quarterback there, I believe.
yeah, and who knows what the future holds for either him or Goff. It's looking like Goff is going to be the QB1 for a long time, but they're going to have to get it sorted out, and I bet they will.
Yeah, get it sorted out. Talking about who should be the wide receiver 2 in Detroit this year, because we all know Amon-Ra is the wide receiver 1 there, but it's like I feel like it's up for grabs for the wide receiver 2, especially watching this game, because I didn't see another wide receiver that Detroit could rely upon, like who could be their number 2 guy. Like, is it like Marvin Jones? Is it Khalif Raymond? Is it Josh Reynolds? Who could it be?
Well, my thoughts on this is it will be Jameson Williams, but with
when he gets unsuspended, when he gets off his suspension,
the remaining 5 games, it'll probably be Josh Reynolds, because Josh Reynolds last night was the leading receiver. He had 4 receptions for 80 yards. So, yeah, Josh Reynolds gets an opportunity to prove he's a wide receiver too, and once Jameson Williams comes back, it should be just smooth sailing, and they should have their wide receivers in order and in affair.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, I hope I'm not jinxing Goff by this, but he's gone 11 games without throwing an interception.
And he was the more impressive QB last night, going 22 of 35 for 253 yardage and 1 touchdown. So, yeah, he's on an impressive streak.
And in those games, the Lions are 9-2, and he's thrown 16 touchdowns.
Let's just say I think Detroit and Jared found a fit in each other, because he is looking like the quarterback of the Detroit Lions that will be reliable and a fixture for years to come.
I believe that too. I think he's their quarterback for the next at least 3 to 4 years. If he can continue playing the way he has been lately.
And there's a rumored extension on the horizon. So,
we can't leave out the elephant in the room. Those Kadarius Toney drops. He really screwed over the Chiefs in that game.
He is looking just
horrendous.
I don't think his mind is on football. I really don't. I think he has some stuff that he was trying to show up the fans, because Giants fans were in his, like, just adding him on Twitter and I think in his DMs, and they were talking smack about him, and he was giving it right back to them. So I think he was trying to prove them, more focused on proving them wrong than
just playing
keeping
football.
his head in the game. Yeah.
All right. I think that wraps up our coverage of Thursday Night Football in the season opener. But it's time to move on to reviewing and previewing Week 1 games. Let's start off with the Texans-Ravens. We're going to rotate back and forth. I'm going to say it, then Patrick's going to say it. All right. So, C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans get their debuts. So, DeMeco Ryans' last game he played as a Houston Texan player was a loss to the Ravens. So, he may try to fire up the Texans a little bit, but the Texans are down a lot of players coming into this game. They're already having a huge injury bug affecting them.
I think that'll be a factor.
But the Ravens are also having injury problem too, because Mark Andrews and OBJ are listed as questionable. So that could play a factor too.
I mean, those are 2 huge guys in the Ravens offense, so that could play a factor. But you still have Lamar as a quarterback.
Yeah, he can scramble around. And that's something that Texans have proven. They struggle against scrambling QBs. Like, once they push the QB out of the pocket, they just bolt off and run down the field. So with Lamar, he can easily get 80 to 100 yards rushing in this game.
It really is, like, mobile quarterbacks are a double-edged sword, because, like, you can lock up their receivers, but then you have to account for them running the football. And Lamar is probably the most dangerous dual threat quarterback in one of the most dangerous dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL. No question.
So that's probably something like the Texans are probably discussing right now. Just like put someone out there just to spy on Lamar, keep an eye on him, someone speedy, like a speedy linebacker. Maybe Christian Harris, just have him out there, spy on him the whole game.
Yeah, no doubt. That's as you're looking over film, that's something you have to take account for. And I would imagine they are going to put some spies on him and just
try to contain him,
keep him in the pocket. Yeah.
Make Lamar make the throws to beat you.
Yeah, make him use his arm.
Don't let him beat you with his legs. He has to beat you with his arm.
Browns and Bengals. So one of the big factors of this game is Joe Burrow.
And how healthy is he?
How healthy is he? And he will be part of the Bengals for a long time to come now that he signed a 5-year, $275 million extension. But the one interesting stat that I saw just preparing for this was Joe Burrow is 1-4 in his career against Cleveland.
Really?
That includes 0-2 at Cleveland.
He's facing Deshaun, and depends on what Deshaun we get this year. But he may be a better Deshaun this year since he had a full offseason to practice with the team and prepare for the season.
Yeah,
but if Deshaun is still like what he looked like last year, the Bengals run away with this thing.
Well, like you said, he's got a full offseason now with his team, so who knows? He's a huge wild card in this game because you have no idea whether you're getting the Pro Bowler or you're getting the guy we saw last year.
Next up, Washington and Cardinals. So I was thinking, So the Cardinals got Joshua Dobbs starting at QB, which officially means they are tanking for next season to get the first overall pick because they would not have cut Colt McCoy if they did not want to try to at least win a couple games. Because Colt McCoy could probably win you a couple games. Josh Dobbs signals, yeah, we're giving up already.
I think that's pretty obvious what they're trying to do. You got a top talent in college football coming up, rising through just becoming a rising star, and Caleb Williams.
But talk about Washington. Washington is a big wild card team this year, solely based on how does Sam Howell play this year? Because they have a solid defense that can keep them in games. It just varies on how well Howell can play this year.
Yeah, if he plays like he did at North Carolina, I don't see a problem, and I feel like
Washington finishes with a winning record.
Yeah,
but if he does not perform well, I can see them finishing in the bottom of the league.
He gives them a shot, and I am just glad that Ron Rivera is noticing and giving him a shot.
Mm-hmm.
The next game on the slate is Vikings-Buccaneers. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is a factor in this game, and just the overall optimism that's going on in Minnesota, coming off a year that was dominant.
Dominant, but also close, because they had a lot of one-score games. So if games went the other way, they could have been easily one of the. They could have easily had one of the worst records in the league.
They are a big They're a big contender for the NFC, but that is due to their quick strike ability and, like you mentioned,
making the clutch plays.
Yeah, yes, and Justin
Jefferson will always come down. He will always come down with those plays because he's a receiver that you can rely upon on every big play or big down and distance.
And there's two other factors that could go into the overall outlook for the season for the Vikings past this game, and that is they have a new defensive coordinator.
That can make a huge difference because their defense was abysmal last year.
It's Brian Flores, who is a big name in the defensive coordinator. He's a great defensive coach, and then there's the big glaring thing, and that's no Dalvin Cook.
When you have Justin Jefferson, you don't need to run the ball as much.
No.
When you have the receiving core that the Vikings have, They only need to run the ball when they need to run the ball, just to establish the run and keep defenses on their toes. They don't need to depend on the run. And
It's always better though to have a notable guy in the backfield, because then you're a dual threat team.
Yeah.
Now, people are just going to say, oh, the Vikings are one-dimensional. You're not going to get them to run the ball 30 times a game. You're not going to have them take a running back and just run it down teams' throats.
But I am excited to see what Alexander Madison does as the full-time starter now. I've seen him.
He's got flashes.
Yeah, but those starts have been against like some weaker defenses. So like I want to see how he does against better defenses. See if he still produces the way we have seen him produce with worser defenses.
And it's really a great opportunity for him.
Yeah.
So for Tampa, obviously you have a new starting quarterback in Baker Mayfield, and it's his team after Tom Brady's retirement. So that could throw some like kinks in. So now you're going to have a quarterback who's new to the system. You're going to have...
Well, this is Baker's third team in like the last year.
Well, just for Tampa Bay itself, you have a new quarterback. Like, between the team and Baker, there's going to be growing pains because, like, it's a new system. There's no chemistry more than what they've already built up in training camp, but that's not a full season, and you're adjusting to a new quarterback, especially right after Tom Brady. So you're going from a GOAT to a guy who's, like you said, moved around the NFL and who has shown flashes of why he's the former number 1 overall pick. But
then he's also shown flashes why he's been let go.
Yeah, there's a lot of optimism for the former Heisman Trophy winner, but there's also a lot of questions about him, is how I'll put that. And then on top of that, Mike Evans is in the middle of a contract discussion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the deadline is Saturday that he set. He says it's not going to ruin or like affect the relationship he has with the Tampa Bay front office and with the team in general. But what could not having him on a contract for the future outlook of the team do to that squad? Because right now he's locked up for one more year, and you have a brand new quarterback.
And they're probably going to bring in another quarterback, a younger quarterback, next year. And you want Mike Evans to be that guy that your rookie or young quarterback can trust for the future.
He's your franchise wide receiver.
Yes.
That right there proves that he is worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
He is definitely your number 1 wide receiver if you're Tampa Bay. And I feel like if he's not there, that's a huge issue.
The next game,
Jeez.
Titans-Saints. Well, this really varies on... I don't think the Titans are going to be very good this year, in my honest opinion. But can Derrick Henry carry the Titans on his back? Because that's what he's going to have to do with this team. Because his O-line is garbage. And the quarterback situation, not very good, which is why I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is going to affect how good this team is.
There's other wide receivers in that equation.
They're not very good ones.
Treylon Burks?
He's solid, but he hasn't proven much.
He's a deep threat wide receiver who's a big body, who can body around these corners like no tomorrow, and he will be...
Again, going back to my quarterback situation there in Tennessee, I'm like, I don't trust any quarterback on that roster to play well. That's why I'm saying, well, Hopkins has done well with terrible QBs, which he's made a career out of. But the thing is, he's a little bit older now. I think he still plays well, but I just don't trust Tennessee with how their offense is ran.
Let's put it this way. DeAndre Hopkins, he wanted to go to a contender
And he ended
to
up
start off, and he ended up choosing the money over the contender and over the ring. That's gonna hurt him a lot because he just took his
he backed
option-
out of his rule.
Yeah, he took his options and had teams on the board that were willing to make it work, give him a quarterback, whatever, and he took the money instead of the ring.
Now who the Titans are playing? The Saints. I think the Saints have a really solid year with Derek Carr under the helm. Because I think he finally has a solid defense because when he was in with the Raiders, his defenses over the last couple years have ranked 27th, 26th, 30th, 32nd, and 24th. Terrible defenses. He had no help on defense, even with all the weapons he had. But with his solid weapons that he has in New Orleans and a slightly in better defense, I think he can win more games and maybe make the playoffs, especially in the weak NFC South.
Yeah, and it's not a bad wide receiver room either. You still got Chris Olave, and of course you got Michael Thomas, so he's got weapons. And I think the addition of Jamal Williams will help them big time in the red zone.
Yes, especially that duo when Alvin Kamara suspension's over. That can really make a lethal duo.
That will be, I think, one of the top running back duos in the league,
yes.
Potentially.
They could potentially have one of the best offensives in the league once everyone's healthy and playing and unsuspended.
Yep.
Which is why I believe the Saints could be. They can easily win the NFC South based solely off they're the most complete team there.
Yeah. Staying in the NFC South, you have the Panthers and Falcons going at it this weekend. And this matchup is intriguing for both sides with the names that are starting. Obviously,
two of the biggest names in the draft.
Yeah. The hype on these two guys, meaning Bryce Young and Bijan Robinson, to get them in one game is a very, very, very big treat. And the thing with, obviously, you have Bryce Young at the helm of the Panthers, and that in itself is going to hopefully make them a better contender for the NFC South.
Yeah, you go from P.J. Walker to Bryce Young. Improvement on the quarterback side. But you don't have a DJ Moore.
But now you do have an offensive-minded head coach in Frank Reich. Frank Reich and Bryce Young will be one of those head coach QB duos that could be dangerous in this league.
But can Bryce take the battering? Because his offensive line isn't that good.
Bryce is one of the toughest guys you're ever going to see in a football game.
I know he is
on the field.
I know he's one of the toughest guys because I watched him in college. He could take it. He could take a battering. But he's not behind Alabama's offensive line. He's behind Carolina's offensive line, which has proven to, I don't think, proven themselves yet.
But there's also another important factor in this game, and that is the weapons he's throwing to. You have two notable names that are a no-go and a maybe. Those two names are DJ Chark and Adam Thielen. DJ Chark is already ruled out, and Adam Thielen is questionable.
Those are big names, but they are not what they once were.
Those are his weapons he's working with. All right, and then on the Falcons side, obviously you got Bijan Robinson, a running back who can do everything, pass catch, run it out of the backfield, speed, juke, everything. He is the quintessential running back every team should have.
He's your dream running back, let's just put it that way. He's the running back everyone wants on their team.
And now you get to see more Desmond Ridder. It is his team, and he...
Man, no Taylor Heineke. He's a fun guy to watch, but I want to see Ridder take this team.
I'm intrigued with Desmond Ridder. I really think that he could take this team to a respectable record this year, and in the process, in the next couple years, take them to the playoffs.
That is a possibility because the NFC isn't that strong.
And another huge factor in terms of their firepower is Kyle Pitts. If
they can get the ball to Kyle Pitts.
If Kyle Pitts is utilized as a pass-catching tight end instead of a blocking tight end, they will have way more success this season than what they had last year when he wasn't being utilized properly.
I completely agree. Kyle Pitts and Drake London can really, and how they're utilized really determines where this team can go, with including Bijan. So, now let's talk about the Jags-Colts game. The Jags were a fun team to watch last year. I'll just put it that way. But their offense got better. They're faster with the addition of Calvin Ridley. But the thing is, how will their defense play out? Because how well their defense does really determines how far this team can go.
Yeah, that's defenses win championships. And I think that the offense is going to run smooth. But come crunch time, the defense is the factor. And yes, they have a few stars on that defense, no question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that defense steps up this year.
With another year under the belt, yeah, I can see that. But yeah, their defense I think will feast against the Colts though, because Anthony Richards in his first game, he's proven to be a leader, but I just want to see how well he plays because he can run, he can launch it. Just how accurate can he be in making those decisions? Because there's no Jonathan Taylor either, and then their other running backs are Zach Moss and Deion Jackson. Which Deion Jackson has shown flashes, but I think those may have been outliers. Their wide receiving core, I just don't trust either. You're not going to give Richardson much help. Outside of Michael Pittman, I don't trust receivers on that team.
Okay, so 49ers Steelers. Number one, Nick Bosa's back. Huge factor.
Yes, the 49ers need him. And by need him, I mean need him. He makes their defense so much better. He's going to get all over that quarterback and make the defense just better.
And you have the return of Brock Purdy, who is getting his first Week 1 start. On top of being named a team captain.
Yes. But does he continue his magic from last year to this year?
I think so. I think Purdy is that guy that was not a fluke. I think he is that legit quarterback who could lead this team in the NFC conference.
Makes sense. How about those Steelers, though?
It really, for the Steelers, comes down to how does Kenny Pickett look? They added some talent on defense, and the offense during the preseason looked like an improved offense. It was dangerous, speedy, but it really does depend on Kenny Pickett and how he performs.
Yes. Now let's move to the Raiders and Broncos game. Two teams which I don't know how to read this year, honestly, because the Broncos looked better towards the end of last year, but they still had the worst offense in the league. Let's see, but Sean Payton's the coach there. Maybe he can turn that offensive around. But the wide receiver core for the Broncos is also depleted to start the year already. And the thing about the Raiders is Jimmy G at quarterback. We don't know what to expect. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's terrible. But Josh Jacobs is probably going to be carrying this team again.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the hardest game of the weekend to get a gauge on how it's going to go for both sides. I think you're looking at a low-scoring game, It's gonna be close. Whether that means the offenses are gonna be bad or the defenses are just gonna take over, it just really is one of those toss-up games.
I completely agree. But I honestly think the Broncos will come out on top because Sean Payton's at the helm. He'll probably get Russell Wilson back to where he was with Seattle, looking good again. That's just my honest opinion, but we will never know until the game starts how each team looks.
Yeah, that's the reason why they brought in a future Hall of Fame head coach, Sean Payton, because he is that. If there's going to be a coach that will turn Russell Wilson around, it will be Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
The next matchup is Dolphins-Chargers. A huge part of this is Tua's health. Is he going to be healthy when on the field? That he's got to stay on the field for Miami to be a part.
They got to protect Tua too.
Yeah, that's a huge aspect of.
They got to build a line that makes sure he doesn't get hit every other play.
As long as he is the Tua that we saw before the bunch of concussions, Miami is definitely going to make this game high scoring.
Yes.
But the other factor is on the opposite side of the ball, and that's Jalen Ramsey.
He's out though.
That's the point. Him being out, that could be a huge factor. Although I personally don't think it will. I think it's like next man up mentality. But I think that him not being in that lineup will be a fairly big impact.
Okay. And how about the Chargers?
Then for the Chargers, you bring in a wide receiver who will be a top target for Justin Herbert and Quentin Johnston. They've had that connection during camp, and he'll be a big factor in this Week 1 game. And another point would be is Brandon Staley's play calling and his clock management. How is that going to play out on Sunday? Because that is a huge aspect and a huge topic of debate for the Chargers. It seems like every game now is how is Brandon Staley going to operate the clock?
But if the Chargers take an early lead and keep the pedal to the metal down, we won't have to worry about his clock management.
Yeah.
All right. Now the Eagles and the Patriots. This game, I don't believe will be close. The Eagles may have lost some defensive players, but they retooled that lineup, that defense anyway, with more Georgia Bulldogs.
The Philadelphia Bulldogs.
Yeah. And the Patriots just continue to get worse every year. Their only notable addition was Juju Smith-Schuster, but his knee could explode at any minute, just to put it lightly.
According to sources. On Sunday night, you are going to see the Giants and Cowboys, and you have a Giants team coming off a improbable playoff season with Brian Dable, and they're just looking to improve on that. They are a team that made some moves in the offseason, brought in some new additions, and they're looking to build on top of what they started last season. A huge factor in that being how good is Daniel Jones? You paid him. You paid him. Now, how is he going to look? Is he going to look like the quarterback we saw last season, or is he going to go back to the young guy that makes a ton of mistakes?
Issues,
and
yeah.
That's huge. And then on the Dallas side, what is this offense going to look like without Zeke?
it's more like how will Dak perform? Because he's been not well lately.
Yeah,
I don't want to say terrible, but with all those interceptions, it's hard to say not terrible.
And Zeke wasn't necessarily great last year at any point, and Tony Pollard really showed what he could do.
Zeke has gotten worse every year he's been in the league.
Did we need that comment?
His best year was his rookie year, and he slowly declined.
This guy's a pessimistic.
I'm just saying the facts here.
But anyway, like this whole like Cowboys season, this whole outlook of the Cowboys season, and especially in this game, is going to be whether Dak plays well. How's he going to be without his best friend Zeke? Which I don't know if they necessarily will have an issue in this matchup because they were 2-0 against the Giants last year. But
yeah, just because the Cowboys have historically played well against the Giants as of recent memory.
Yeah, and I think that continues. I think Cowboys get the win.
Cowboys should get the win just because they play well against the Giants.
Every year.
All right. Now, the next game is the Rams and Seahawks. There's no Cup. Stafford's back, but we don't know how he's going to perform. And on the Seahawks side, how's Geno Smith going to play? Is he going to be the same Geno we saw last year? And another thing, how are the Seahawks going to manage their running backs with Kenneth Walker, DJ Dallas, and Zach Charbonnet?
Well, Zach Charbonnet probably will not get to see the field very often. He's not going to have that opportunity. I think the real factor in the Seahawks is, are we going to see the same Geno Smith we saw last year? Because that is a huge factor. That's a guy who...
Do we get the typical Geno Smith or last year Geno Smith? That's the big question.
Because last year Geno Smith is the guy who got the extension. So if he continues to be that Geno Smith, this Seahawks team has an opportunity here to be great. If it doesn't look so good for Geno Smith, they're going to be right down at the bottom with the Cardinals. All right, so my last preview is Chicago and Green Bay, the Packers and the Bears. For Green Bay, obviously, new quarterback, Jordan Love. It's officially the start of the Jordan Love era. And we don't know how he's going to do. And especially now that we have news that Romeo Doubs is in, but Christian Watson is out for this game.
So, sounds like Love's down a couple weapons.
Yeah, so I don't think he'll show his
full ability
this game. So,
and how about the new look Bears?
For the Bears, they went all in on defense and somewhat in on offense in the offseason. You added a huge couple additions to the linebacker room in T.J. Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. You gave Edmonds that huge deal. You gave him that 4-year, $72 million deal. Ow. And really, this team is just looking to take a step forward with the talent that they have. Obviously, last year with Chase Claypool addition, and then with the new addition of DJ Moore coming from the Bryce Young trade, Carolina. I believe that the new look Bears will be a improved team and could challenge for the NFC North crown.
You think they're going to be that good?
I think they have the potential.
I was thinking the NFC North will just come up to the Vikings and Lions, but you're saying the Bears are in the mix too?
I believe that the Bears are in the mix. I think that at the end of the day, yes, the Lions and the Vikings are the better team, but I think Chicago is starting to get there.
Yeah, I believe Chicago needs another year to be there, but I can see where he's coming from. Now for our final matchup of the week, Monday Night Football between the Bills and Jets. Does the Jets defense still look as good as they were last year? How is Aaron Rodgers playing his first game as a Jet against the Bills defense, which I don't feel confident with. But Josh Allen, he has his guys. Gabe Davis, I think, has a comeback year, and he will be what people expect him to be last year.
Yeah, the Bills overall improved the offense. They brought in new weapons, but the key in this game, I think, comes down to how did the Bills on defense hold up the Jets' run game?
With the combination of Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall.
Yeah, that's a huge factor in this game. The Bills need to stop the run on the defensive side, and same thing for the Jets. The Jets need to stop the Bills' running attack. I think it comes down to whoever has the best running attack in this game will win it.
Or whoever can stop the run will win it.
Yeah, and we know what the Bills on offense are capable of, and we've seen what Aaron Rodgers and all the Packers that he brought with him. We've seen what they can do together, meaning Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb. I think it ultimately comes down to that running game for both sides.
I thought it was going to be kind of a gunslinging game. Whoever can throw the most touchdowns would win. But if you think it's going to come down to run, that may be a possibility.
Oh, believe me, there'll be a bunch of gunslinging in this game. Both quarterbacks will come out throwing. But I believe whoever has the better running backs in this game will come out on top.
All right. That's it from the Gridiron SN podcast. I'm Anthony Silva.
I'm Patrick Vogel.
See ya, and have a great day.